as I became a teenager, there was almost like a traditionalist thing that happened, and it gave bands like the Georgia Satellites and the Stray Cats, and like the 50s rock thing was happening with new wave in the early 80s, and I just love that. And as a songwriter, I love to think like, how can I write a Chuck Berry song that only has 3 chords and like no minor really, but do it in a new way so I'm not ripping off something else, and to see if I can do something fresh. And so throughout my albums, you'll hear these kind of Chuck Berry songs that are not that they're in that tradition, where it's 50s rock, runka runka runka.
Welcome to the Back Catalog Listening Party, your weekly musical happy hour where musicians pick an album from their back catalog and tell the stories behind their favorite tracks in front of a live online audience.
This week we talk with folk rock artist Jonathan Rundman. We revisit his 2004 album Public Library, explore his eclectic musical library, and share stories about recording with his all-time favorite band. So pour a beverage, grab a snack, and kick back as we listen to music together here on the Back Catalog Listening Party, where it's always Friday and old albums never sounded better. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
And welcome to the Back Catalog Listening Party. My name is Mother Banjo, one of your hosts.
My name is Anthony Ihrig, the other host.
And today we have joining us all the way from a little further south of Minneapolis, Jonathan Rundman.
Hey!
People are so excited.
Looks like we have some folks arriving to the party. We got our good friend Connie from Richfield, not too far from you.
Richfield is like a few blocks from me.
Fantastic. Hey, Connie, welcome. And we have our friend Joe checking in from Minneapolis. Happy to be here. We're happy you're here too, Joe.
And we are so excited to have Jonathan on the show, and such a busy person that we had scheduled it, and then we had to reschedule it because he had so much going on. He had a last minute trip to Europe, I think it was.
Yeah.
So we're very excited we made a date work, especially because you're about to go on a big tour, which we'll be talking about as well. But Jonathan Rundman joining us today. And for folks who are maybe you've had a lot of different musical lives in your career.
Right.
So maybe you could give, and for folks who maybe aren't as familiar with your music, maybe you can give a brief recap, especially starting with, where you grew up and a little bit of your origin story.
Sure. Well, it's great to be on the podcast. I've listened to many of these episodes and even watched a couple on YouTube. So it's so awesome to be a guest.
Awesome.
And you've had a lot of the guests you've had are people who I just love. So it's really great to be here. I am originally from Michigan's Upper Peninsula, way up by Lake Superior, across the water from Canada. It's like a 7 or 8 hour drive from here. And so that's my homeland. And then over the years, I spent a little bit of the 90s out in Oregon on the West Coast, right in the midst of the grunge explosion in the early 90s. And then after that, I feel like in some ways my musical hometown is in Chicago because I lived there in the late 90s into the early 2000s. And that was a real formative place. And then I moved here to the Twin Cities in 2002. So I've been here for 23 years. And so this is the longest place I've ever lived anywhere. And I love it.
Awesome.
Great to have you here.
And tell us also, I know you have done Scandinavian music, you've done rock and roll, you've done singer-songwriter stuff. But tell us a little bit about the Scandinavian roots and also maybe the correct pronunciation of your last name as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I grew up, like I said, in Upper Michigan in a Finnish community where there were, immigrants from Finland, like my ancestors came to America in 1903. And so I was surrounded by Finnish culture. And and my name is actually a part of the Finnish community called Swedish speaking Finns. So when I go to Europe, I'm called Jonathan Rundman.
Okay.
Although it's difficult to roll my R's, I'm still working on rolling the R. And then, my music career has been interesting because primarily I'm a rock musician, singer-songwriter, and I did that for decades. But then in my, middle-aged life, like in my 40s, I got super interested in Nordic folk music. And so I had a chance to tour for 3 years playing Nordic folk music. And that's an interesting tradition because it's not vocal. There's no singing. It's, music for dancing. So if it's like fiddles and accordions. I played harmonium and mandolin and banjo and a lot of acoustic, that kind of stuff. And that was really fun. And that really influenced me a lot. And then also in my 40s, I got really into writing church music, choral music, liturgical music, music for choirs and organ. And there's some overlap with the Finnish folk music as well. And so I sort of have 3 careers, which is rock and roll music, liturgical music, and Nordic folk music. And
Nice.
sometimes they all overlap at the same time.
And John Kearns, another great local musician,
Oh,
joining the
Kearns.
party. Kearnsy, saying, I always marvel at Rundman's CD collection when I'm there. So yeah, look at that. Right. For those of you watching the YouTube version, you'll get to see his wonderful CD collection.
I could show you my John Kearns and the Hemispheres CD. If you'd like.
Awesome. I love that. Well, welcome to the party. If you just joined us, tell us where you are tuned in from, if you're enjoying a beverage or a snack. And I forgot to check in with the two of you. This is our weekly musical happy hour. So Tony, did you find yourself a beverage?
I did. I'm trying something new. This is it's called Wits Peak. It's a Belgian style white kind of wheat beer from the Athletic Brewing Company. It's an NA, but it tastes delicious, and it's hitting the spot today.
And it looks great in that back catalog listening party pint glass as well.
Yeah. How about you?
And I'm enjoying. I got all fancy tonight because I'm excited for the show, and and also to be fair, the box of wine was depleted, so I made myself an old fashioned. So
excellent.
Yeah. And Jonathan, are you enjoying anything?
I'm drinking tap water because I just got over COVID, and so I'm trying to stay hydrated.
Yeah, that's a good
Smart.
call, and
But
we're happy you're feeling better.
My symptoms are gone, and I feel great.
Well, cheers to that. We're
Yes,
excited
cheers
about
to that, and cheers to all you out there. Cheers to our friend Chris Jetner, beaming in from Savage with his Pinot Noir.
And Alinda joining us from New Haven, Connecticut. Welcome to the party. And again, we are very excited about the show. And the album we're going to talk about tonight is Public Library. It originally released in 2004. So, wow, 21 years ago.
Yeah.
And was this, I know you're about to put out a new record. Was this your last solo album that you put out?
No, I did one in 2008 and I did one in 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's been 10 years since I had a solo album, but in a way it's like, this Public Library is an important one because it sort of marks the decades.
Yeah, that's really cool. So we're going to be revisiting that record tonight. And the first track that you picked to feature is Falling Down. And is there anything you want to say about this track before we take a listen?
Yeah, this album, Public Library, is the first record I made as a Minnesotan. Because I moved here in 2002, recorded the record in 2003, it came out in 2004, and Falling Down is the first song I ever wrote as a Minnesotan. I think I wrote it like 2 days after I moved here. I lived in North Minneapolis at the time, and I moved into our house, but our furniture hadn't arrived yet. And my wife was already working downtown Minneapolis, so I was alone in a house with no furniture, no boxes, no kitchen supplies, just me and a guitar in a completely empty house. And I was brand new to town and I wrote this song.
That's the makings of a good song right there. And we're going to listen to that song right now. This is Jonathan Rundman, Falling Down, here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Baby, why you calling? The sun is setting, the shadows are crawling. You say you're feeling lost and lonely. You hear the sound of your footsteps only. The house is empty, your voice is shaking. You say you're watching the plans you're making. Falling down, falling down, falling down, falling down, falling down, falling down. Baby, I know how you're
All right. Jonathan Rundman here on the
Nice.
back catalog listening party with Falling Down from his 2004 album Public Library, which we are revisiting today with Jonathan Rundman joining us live from his CD library. Not a public library, but his own personal music library. And that song, you mentioned that it was written when you were like, in a new house, no furniture, all alone, which sounds like the makings of like such a sad song, but it has such a lovely, like warm pop feel to it. When you wrote it, is that kind of how you envisioned it? Or did that happen in the studio?
No, it was written with that feeling, and I think I wrote it really, really fast, if I remember correctly, and it was around that doo 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 doo. It's a riff song, where the
Mm-hmm.
riff is the first thing, and then the whole song just emerges from the riff. But what I love about that song, it's funny to hear it now because I haven't heard the recording for probably 15 years or something. um, but I'm so proud of it because it's the only song I've ever written that requires a double rhyme at the end of every line. And it
Mm.
made it extremely difficult to write the lyrics because normally when you're writing songs, you get to rhyme one syllable, and that's great. But this song, the way I structured it was every line needed a double rhyme. So if I'm going to sing feeling, then I have to say ceiling
Mm.
and shake you, overtake you, so it made it like twice. It was super hard to write the lyrics because I was really committed to the double rhyme and I would not deviate from the rule.
Nice. That's songwriting craft. You got to have your boundaries. The ways to focus your writing. And I want to ask actually about the recording of this album because here you are. You just showed up in a new town and you're living by yourself in a room, in a house with no furniture. But here I'm hearing all this wonderful musicianship, and it sounds like a wonderful studio. Where did you record this? And tell us a little bit about who's playing with you on this record.
Yes, I'll let you know. This album was a dream come true for me. I was let's see, I was 32 years old when I made this record, and I had never made a record with a producer before. And one of my musical heroes is Walter Salas Humara from the Silos.
Hmm.
And so, when I lived in Chicago, I used to go see the Silos, and I would work up the nerve to talk to Walter after the show at Shuba's. And and then eventually I asked him, "Would you produce an album for me?" And he agreed to do it. So then when I moved to Minneapolis, we made the plans to make the record with Walter as my producer and the Silos as the band. So what
Oh,
you're
wow.
hearing on the record is the Silos trio that played from the late 90s through the late 2000s. So it's like, imagine, it's what happened to me is I got to make a record with one of my favorite bands.
That's amazing. What a great backing band you have then
Yeah.
for this. And now, did you go down to Chicago to record it, or do you record it here in
Well,
the
it's
Twin Cities?
interesting. We did this great recording process, which was in 3 phases. And the first phase was, drums, bass, and rhythm guitar, the rhythm section stuff. And so for that, we went to Madison, Wisconsin, to my friend Dave's house. And I wonder if Dave's going to be in the chat tonight. We'll see. But he has this giant house in Madison. And so the Silos flew in from New York, and I came from Minneapolis, and I brought my friend John Simshauser, who's a studio engineer who had all the Pro Tools rig and all the mics and stuff. And we set up in Dave's house for like 5 days or a week or something.
Oh, wow.
And my wife came. She was pregnant with our first child, and she bought all the groceries. And then the house was big enough that we each had a room to sleep in. And then we'd wake up in the morning, and the drums were by where the kitchen table was, and the bass amp was in the pantry, and the guitar amp was down the hall in the bedroom. And so we just took over the house and got all the basic tracks. And then a month later, I drove out to New York City, where Walter lives, and I did keyboard overdubs, and we did lap steel and slide guitar overdubs and mandolin. So the organ you hear on that song was played in Walter's studio in Manhattan.
Oh, nice.
And I've always dreamed of making a record in New York City. And so that was just a thrill. And then by the time that session was over, we still had a few more overdubs to do with some vocal harmonies and tambourines and whatever. So then I came back to Minneapolis and finished the overdubs at home.
Wow.
Wow.
That's
So it
an
was
amazing
recorded
journey.
Madison, New York City, and Minneapolis.
So how long did that whole process take from like the start in Madison to Minneapolis?
Good question. I think we did the week in Madison in August, and then I did a week in New York in September, and then I think by October everything was done. So it was
Wow.
maybe like a 2-month window in the summer and early fall of 2003.
Wow.
Okay. And this is like, a little early for just sending tracks around. So if you're going to do overdubs, you're driving
Yeah.
to New York. To do
It was
that.
it was really early Pro Tools, and there was no sharing files on the internet, so we would mail data DVDs through the mail,
Oh my
and then
goodness.
open the DVD, drag the WAV file over from after receiving a package of discs to the mail.
And it probably took just as long to load that dated DVD onto your computer as it did to come in the mail.
Yes.
I remember those days. And so it was all digital? The
Yeah, Pro
recording was?
Tools. Early, the whatever early primitive version of Pro Tools was happening in the early 2000s. Yeah.
Wow.
Excellent.
And you mentioned the vocal overdubs. Was this like on that track? Of course, the vocal, the like harmony and backing vocals are such a key part of that sound. Was that you? Was that members of the Silos or
That's all
combo?
me. Yeah,
Awesome.
I just
I
stacked
was going to
them.
say great blend, but
Yeah, I had that brotherly harmony with myself. Yeah, I think there's probably 12 Jonathans on every song.
oh wow.
And I love
Nice.
an artist that sings their own harmony and stacks it up like crazy. I've always loved that in the bands that I like. So I just went crazy with the harmony vocals.
And is that also some of your choral training kind of coming in there?
I
Lots
think
of
so.
voices together?
Yeah, I think it's why I love choral music, because I just love a ton of voices. I love a lot of voices in unison,
Mm.
like to
Mhm.
just triple track the same melody line I just love it. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, just the subtle differences in each version kind of fattens it up.
Yeah.
It's almost like an analog kind of delay effect or something
Yeah.
like that.
That
Very
song
cool.
too is really different from, I don't have any songs that sort of have an echo where it's like falling down, falling down, falling down, falling down. Like I never do that. So that's a really unusual example of one of my songs that sort of almost requires a band. Like you need 3 singers to do it live.
I was going to
And-
say, do you sing this ever live solo? Or
I played it live actually with John Kearns when the album came out, because Kearns played bass with me, and we did that song. But then I probably went 15 years and never played it. But it's always been a favorite of mine. And so last year I started playing it at concert, and I thought, I love this song. I need to bring it back. So when I
Nice.
go on tour with the Silos at the end of the month, we're going to play Falling Down.
Yay.
oh, with them. Oh,
It's-
perfect.
It's really a lost, I went decades without listening to it and never, ever, ever playing it.
And you know what else? This song in particular, because there is that kind of echo thing.
Yeah.
It also has a lot of potential to be a crowd sing along. Employ
Mhm.
the crowd to be your
They
That
can
would
sing
be
that,
awesome.
backing
that
chorus.
response part,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
I like
that would be great.
Hey there, would you like to be part of the live show? Well, become a member of the Back Catalog Listening Party Patreon, and you'll get a backstage pass to weekly online tapings where you can ask the artist questions and participate in the live chat with a fun community of like-minded music nerds. You'll also get a first look at upcoming guests and receive invitations to special live streams and private after parties. So join the party today at patreon.com/Back Catalog Listening Party.
Well, we'll mention this again, but we do, since you just mentioned it, Jonathan, you're about to go on tour with the Silos again, and a whole bunch of dates. I know one of them is here in Minneapolis at the Parkway Theater. Maybe you could just tell us where the tour is headed.
Yes, on the 23rd of April, we're at the Parkway Theater, Minneapolis, one of my favorite venues. I've never performed there. I've just been a fan there. So I'm super excited to play there. On the Thursday, the 24th, we're in Milwaukee at Anodyne. On Friday, the 25th, we're at Hey Nani in Chicagoland. On whatever the Saturday is, the 26th, we're at Kiki's House of Righteous Music in Madison, which is sold out. And then we just added a new date on the 27th of April at the Tarleton Theater in Green Bay.
Mhm.
And the Silos this is their 40th anniversary tour, and they've never played Green Bay before.
Oh, nice.
And I've never played the Tarleton Theater before, so I'm really excited about that.
So are you opening up the shows and also playing with the band?
Yes, so I'll be the opening act with their rhythm section as my band, and after my opening set, then I become the keyboard player in the silos.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
excellent.
And do you ever sort of pinch yourself thinking, this is the band that I was so into and I get to play with them? Like,
It's incredible because got into them when I was in 11th grade.
yeah.
Wow.
I was listening to them. I'd go to high school with the Silos Cuba T-shirt on.
Oh
As
my
a high
gosh.
school
Do you still
kid.
have that t-shirt?
It's on a T-shirt quilt right now.
Ah,
I love
been,
that.
been made
so
into a
great.
quilt.
Oh, it's great. I love that. Well, if you just joined us here at the Back Catalog Listening Party, we have Jonathan Rundman joining us. We're revisiting his album that came out 21 years ago, Public Library. And we are talking about the making of that record with one of his hero bands, the Silos. So we're going to be digging into more tracks. If you just joined us, tell us where you're tuned in from, if you're enjoying a beverage or a snack. And of course, feel free to ask questions and share comments as we go, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. The next track you picked to feature on the show is Second Language. Is there anything you want to say about this?
Yeah, this one is really special to me too, because at this point in my career, I had never recorded with a string quartet. And Walter, the producer in New York City, knew a whole bunch of string players. And one of the famous members of the Silos is Mary Rowell, the violinist who's on a lot of their records. And so she arranged the string quartet and got the players together and then wrote the score for this song.
All right, well, let's give it a spin. This is Jonathan Rundman, Second Language, here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Gotta get my license, learn my lessons, learn when Texas became a state. And I wish I never had this baby. I cannot study or sleep in late. When I wake up, I speak my second language. I speak my second language when I catch my train. I work all day. I speak my second language. I speak my second language and do it all again. Got a video camera built in my native country. I could set it up so it points at me. And throughout my daytime, I just keep it running. I can make a movie, play it on TV. When I wake up, I speak my second language. I speak my second language when I catch my train. I work all day. I speak my second language. I speak my second language and do it all again. About this time last year, I was all alone. My fiance was put in jail. Now we're together, but it's no better. We were sweeter when we sent mail. When I wake up, I speak my second language when I catch my train. I work all day, I speak my second language. I speak my second language, do it all again.
Oh, beautiful. That was Jonathan Rundman with Second Language from his 2004 album Public Library, which we are revisiting today on the Back Catalog Listening Party with Jonathan joining us live. And Connie says, lovely. And I would
Beautiful.
agree. And not only is that string quartet so amazing, but the drums really stand out, have this beautiful feel to it. Tell us, and then the keyboards, that sort of minimalist electric keyboard. Tell us how you said you laid down the tracks kind of live with the band in Madison. What was the core band on the original recording? Because I'm guessing you didn't have the string quartet for that.
Yeah, the string quartet
Christmas.
was an overdub in New York City. But the band is me on Wurlitzer electric piano. So it's a 1968 Wurlitzer that I got at a
so
pawn.
warm. Love it.
Yeah.
I love Wurlitzer. And so I think I got that instrument in like 1999 for $200 at a pawn shop in Chicago. And now it's worth like $3,000, something like that. But once I got that whirly, I've played it on so many records since then. And in fact, a lot of the session work I get is people will hire me to play Wurlitzer, and I play that same instrument. And then the drummer is Conrad Meisner, who's been a longtime Silos drummer since the 90s. And he's incredible. And as you can hear on that song, it's amazing. And actually, Conrad is the drummer on our tour coming up at the end of the month. So I'm so excited to perform live with him because he's just amazing. And then this is sort of a bittersweet moment, but the amazing bass guitar on the whole record is played by Drew Glacken, who was the Silos bass player starting in, I don't know, maybe in like 1998 or something. Amazing bassist and also amazing electric guitar player. And Drew died in 2008, I think, after a series of health problems. And one of the last shows I saw the Silos play with Drew was at 7th Street Entry here in Minneapolis. And then after he died, they did a tribute show for him at South by Southwest at the Hole in the Wall. And I flew down, I think it was in 2008 or 2009. I got to play the Drew Glacken memorial show at South by that year. But Drew is the star. He's kind of the secret weapon of this album because he played all the bass guitar. And then he played all the electric guitar as well because, I'm playing acoustic and I'm playing, acoustic stuff, but I'm not a shredder electric player. And so Drew Glacken is just so great. And he played beautiful bass on there too.
Yeah, really beautiful stuff.
Well, folks are loving it. Linda, Chris, really digging it. And Ron just joined the party, joining us from Nashville.
Yeah.
Gomez, drinking Wiseacre Tiny Bomb. All
yeah,
right.
that would be Ron Gomez, the producer of my new record.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, this is a good time to talk about that. So this album we're revisiting today came out 21 years ago. As you said, you had a couple other albums, but your last album was 10 years ago. So you are probably overdue for a new solo record.
I'm overdue.
Yeah. So this new album comes out Friday. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
So by the time this podcast airs, it will already be out. It's called Waves. What can you tell us about it other than Ron Gomez produced it?
Yeah. Well, this is, I think, Waves, the new record reminds me a lot of Public Library in sort of the spirit of it all, because, Public Library was an album that was kind of Silos related, obviously, because Walter was my producer. And the new album Waves is also Silos related because the band on my new record is the Midwest touring ensemble of the Silos, the current ensemble. And so it's also another record sort of backed by the Silos.
Cool.
And so, and like Public Library was an album where I left home and made the record with the band in a house in Madison and then in New York City. And that was kind of a dream come true, of course, when you think of all the records that have been made in New York. And this new album Waves is a little bit like that as well in terms that I've never been to Nashville to make a record. That was another dream I always had. And Ron Gomez, the producer, lives in Nashville. and said, "Hey, come on down here. We'll lock out a studio. We'll track it live with the band in the studio." And it was just a thrill. So we went and did that. Also, Eric Castle in the chat, who is the guitar player on the new record. There he is right
All
there.
right.
Excellent.
And so me and Eric flew down from Minneapolis. Ron was there in Nashville to meet us. And then Gerald Dowd came down from Chicago to play the drums. And we stayed at Ron's house. Ron made all the food. And we had a great time.
I love it.
Awesome.
That's how you make a record.
Yeah, exactly.
It was incredible.
Well, if the musicians aren't fed, nothing good's going to come out on that record. I can say that.
When you guys do your Rock and Roll Kitchen podcast, that's when you call Ron Gomez to be the guest.
Excellent.
Well, Ron, you can come over anytime to make us food to South Minneapolis. We will gladly accept that. And Eric chimed in to say Ron makes delicious pasta. So good to know. Noted. And if you want to check out Jonathan Rundman's new record and also, of course, this album we're revisiting today, Public Library, all the Jonathan Rundman records, you can go to jonathanrundman.com. You'll also find those tour dates there, and also on Bandcamp. And right now, you can order the new album on Bandcamp. By the time this podcast airs, it'll be out. And for those of you joining us for the live taping, you can pre-order it right now on vinyl or CD. And there's a special listening party that's coming up. We're going to put the info in the chat for those of you joining us for the live taping, so you can partake in that to preview, get first listen of the new record, which we're so excited about.
Nice. And I want to say before we started, Jonathan mentioned that there were like 9 physical copies left of Public Library. It's just a rare find, people. If you want to get your mitts on, Jonathan's holding it up right there on this very rare and wonderful
out of print
CD. He said that if you go to Bandcamp, you can purchase one of those last remaining ones. I'm assuming you're sending them out, Jonathan. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm the fulfillment man.
Right. So I'm sure he'd put a little signature on it if you asked. And the great thing about Bandcamp is you can put a little extra in the tip jar too. So they pay what you want is what they say. So go over to Jonathan's website and you'll find a link to Bandcamp where you can purchase this CD, the new one. Is it for pre-order then?
Yes. Pre-order is rolling right now.
So you might as well just get the credit card out once. Head on over to Bandcamp and pick this one up. Get one of those last physical copies of it and order that new one right away.
And I just want to point out too that it sounds fantastic. I mean, all the production value is so good. So getting buying the physical copy of the album Public Library, or by getting the high-res digital files you'll want to get. But if you get the physical copy, you get to get this cool artwork. And it would be cool to get that back on the screen here for those of us joining us on YouTube, because talk about some analog stuff happening on this cover. We have a great Fender amp, it looks like, and of course a card catalog. And also I love that this cover has the like record label info, like it looks like a Dewey Decimal kind of number.
It's supposed to be like the Dewey Decimal, and the number you see is the UPC code.
Oh, that's great.
Wow, that's so cool.
Well, I come from library world. I want to know where this cover and the album title comes from.
I took this picture using an old camera in my living room of our North Minneapolis house, and that card catalog is real, and right now it's in my kitchen. My wife was a college professor, and the college was throwing that card catalog in the dumpster behind the library, and we found it and saved it.
Good.
And then that is my 1968 Bassman amp.
Wow. And that card catalog, do you still have it? And what do you put in it? Because I'm guessing it's not library
we still
cards.
have it, and it's our utility cabinet. So one drawer has Sharpies, one drawer has paper clips, one drawer has tape.
See, I need drawers like that. Everything's in one big drawer, and you can never find anything you need. I need a card catalog as well.
Yeah, it's the world's most organized junk drawer.
And outside of your wife's connection, like with the university, do you have any connections with libraries, or where did the title come from?
Well, I'm a big library fan, obviously, and literacy and education is a big part of my family and my wife's career.
Mhm.
And so the title track of the Public Library album is probably the most famous song. It's called Librarian, but it's the song that I play almost at every concert. But I thought, like, for this show, we're going to skip it.
This is your chance to dig deeper
Dig
into
deep.
the.
Yeah, we're doing
Yeah.
the deep cuts tonight.
That's what
That's
the
right.
back catalog is all about.
Yeah, it's about the back catalog, and we don't need a Dewey Decimal System to find the tracks. We just have Jonathan as our guide to guide us through these different tracks tonight. And I also want to point out that you said that there is a deluxe version of this album as well, right? And that has some extra tracks.
Yeah, the deluxe version is on Bandcamp, and it
Mhm.
has demos and alternate mixes and alternate takes of
So
songs
lots
from
of
there.
different ways you can get this album, and I say get them in all the ways. That's what I say.
Agreed.
But we want to hear more of the record. So the next track that you picked to feature is 747s. Anything you want to say about this one?
Yeah, we were talking about Drew Glacken, the former Silos bassist and guitarist, and he's the rock star on this song playing the slide guitar. So check that out.
All right. Let's give it a listen. This is Jonathan Rundman, 747s here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Let's go out to the airfield for the transatlantic flights. Stop out by the chain link fence at the end of the runway lights. See the sunshine on the wingspan, see the wheels lifting off the ground. Yeah, I think our love's going somewhere, baby, can't you hear the engine sound? 747s look beautiful, soaring in the skies of blue. 747s are taking off like my love for you. Whoa, like my love for you. Let's lay back on the tarmac, just looking up at the clouds. See that jet pass overhead and our hearts start pounding loud. Love is fast, love is dangerous, love can take you high. Like 100 tons of steel and fuel, graceful in the sky. 747s look beautiful, soaring in the skies of blue. 747s are taking off like my love for you. Whoa, like my love for you. Darling, in the shadow of the plains, we can build our home in the flight path so we can hear them call our names. And when those engines roar up in the air, you can turn your eyes above, see that silver angel fly and know how much I love you. 747s look beautiful, soaring in the skies of blue. 747s are taking off like my love for you. Whoa, like my love for you. Yeah, 747s look beautiful, soaring in the skies of blue. 747s are taking off like my love for you. Whoa, like my love for you. Like my love for you.
All right.
Nice.
As some of our listeners were saying, good fun. That was Jonathan Rundman with 747s from his 2004 album Public Library, which we are revisiting today on the show with Jonathan joining us live. And Chris says, crowd party song. I agree with that. And also, as someone who lives, and Tony and I both live in the flight path in South Minneapolis, very close to the airport, and you aren't far from us. So was this inspired by living near the airport?
Exactly. It's one of the last songs I wrote living in Chicago before I moved here, and I lived in Chicago in the midpoint between O'Hare and Midway Airport.
So you got them for both
And
directions.
so both directions, but it was great for being a touring artist because I could drive a half hour to one airport or the other, and it was fairly convenient.
Nice.
Yes, that's it. The song is just literally about what it was like to live in the flight path of the airport.
Well, it's funny because when that guitar came in, kind of simulating an airplane noise. I had a moment where I was like, wait, is that
We're
because
gonna have to edit that out or what?
yeah, well, because I was thinking, I was like, so often there's an airplane that's going over like my house, and then it goes over to Tony's. It's like you can hear it span. It's like echoing in your ears in
Yeah.
stereo. The Back Catalog Listening Party is brought to you by EFS Publicity. Founded by veteran publicist, promoter, DJ, and musician Ellen Stanley, EFS brings an artist's perspective to the table, working to help clients get to the next level in their career. Services include national and international media campaigns, radio promotions, tour press, crowdfunding, grant writing, and more. Get a quote or set up a consultation today at efspublicity.com. But what a fun song. And that really shows off kind of your rock and roll kind of feel. And, in the earlier, like the first track had kind of like some REM and Jayhawksy kind of feel to it. And then the last and second language had this more kind of sweeter, more acoustic thing. And this just felt like straight up rock and roll. So tell us a little bit about what you were raised on. But like, do you get some of those classic rock and roll sounds when you were a kid?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm raised on 70s top 40 radio, but I think 747s is a good example of how the music that really haunts me, and I'm recognizing this as a middle-aged person. I maybe didn't recognize it as a younger one, but it's Chuck Berry.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that I'm shaped by this music that has 3 chords, and it's that kind of Chuck Berry runka 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 thing, and then all the bands that were inspired by Chuck. And in some ways, like Paul Simon has songs that are inspired, that do that sort of thing. If you think about like Loves Me Like a Rock, for example, something like that, because I'm a big influenced by Paul Simon, but he had, or if you think of like, what's the song on Bridge Over Troubled Water, like Baby Driver, right?
Mm-hmm.
Baby Driver is just like a or it's just like a Chuck Berry sort of thing. And then as I became a teenager, there was almost like a traditionalist thing that happened, and it gave bands like the Georgia Satellites and the Stray Cats, and like the 50s rock thing was happening with new wave in the early 80s, and I just love that. And as a songwriter, I love to think like, how can I write a Chuck Berry song that only has 3 chords and like no minor really, but do it in a new way so I'm not ripping off something else, and to see if I can do something fresh. And so throughout my albums, you'll hear these kind of Chuck Berry songs that are not, they're in that tradition, where it's 50s rock, runka runka runka. And my new record, it was so fun working with Ron Gomez, Eric Castle, and Gerald Dowd, because we were the same sort of generation, and so you can hear a lot of that. The new record is really shaped, I think, by what you'd call roots rock, or music that's rooted in the 50s, whether it's Chuck Berry or Buddy Holly, and then how that happened, how it landed in new wave with the Pretenders or Elvis Costello or stuff like that.
Super cool. And when you approach these projects, like these albums, you have such a expansive, knowledge of music and have played all these different styles. Do you put any sort of kind of boundaries on like a particular project? Like, I'm going to make this one a little more roots rocky, and I'm going to make this one a little more folky, like, or is it just is it more of a snapshot of where you are while you're writing it, or that year?
I think it's more of a snapshot, but like what's why I think it's good to think about the Public Library album now, as I get ready to release the Waves album. They have a lot in common in terms of that they are both albums that had a band, and it was, you put this rhythm section together with me, and it becomes its own thing, and it's a consistent set of players through the whole record, so the record really sounds like a record. And the same is true with Waves, the new record, because that's, Ron on bass and Gerald on drums and Eric on electric guitar and me on acoustic guitar. And it's the same guys on all the songs in the same room. And so these 2 records I think of them really as siblings in that way.
Bookends, if you will.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Paul and Art, for the bookends.
Now, when you were writing these, did you have a band in mind?
No, I'm always just writing songs. My primary goal is, can I play this solo? Because primarily I play almost everything solo acoustic when I'm on tour. So I have to be able to sell it alone.
The affordable way to tour.
Right.
That's right. Well, again, if you get to catch Jonathan Rundman on this next stretch of tour dates, this will be a rare treat because you'll get to see him play his songs with a band,
Yeah,
with the
which
Silos backing him up. Yeah.
that almost never happens,
So
especially on tour. So you got to come see it because it's a very rare occasion.
that's right.
Very
So
cool.
Jonathan Rundman with the Silos on tour. Go to jonathanrundman.com. It's also where you can find out more information about the new record Waves coming out this week, as well as this album we are revisiting today, Public Library. And before we get to our last song here, I do want to take this opportunity to thank the folks that have kept this party going for 5 years now. Oh my
Wow.
goodness. We have quite the library of we have quite the back catalog of back catalog listening party episodes right now. Thanks to these folks who stepped up and said, even when things opened up after the pandemic, they said, we want the show to keep going because we really value digging into these old records, rediscovering music, and hearing what the artists have to say about the records. So I want to thank these folks: Penny, Ann, Alinda, Bevan, Connie, Vaughn, Ellen, Chris, Peggy, Joe, Jim, Beverly, John, Fred, Tim, Sarah, David, Jocelyn, Matt, Steve, Mark, Homestead, Pick and Parlor, Severin, Lynn, Mary, Nikki, Joni, David, CJ, Wiley, Stephanie, Christy, Diane, Hetty, Sandy, Neighbor Ann, BZ, Alyssa, and maybe you. If you're listening to the podcast and you think, I want to be part of this live chat, I want to ask Jonathan and all these cool guest questions in real time.
Yeah.
Well, you get an invite to the party when you join at any level. And if you go to patreon.com/back catalog listening party, you can find out how you do that. You also get first look at all the guests and what podcast episodes are coming. And while supplies last, the back catalog listening party pint glass, we have a few left. So
Yeah. You want to get on it.
Yeah, exactly. So if you join, you'll get one of those founders pint glasses as well. But mainly, thank you for being here and lending us your ears. And again, you can also sign up for the free Patreon where you'll at least just get first look at what the podcast episode is coming up that week. So thank you for everyone's support. But most of all, thanks to folks like Jonathan who make this show possible and are willing to take time out of their busy schedule to join us and revisit records they maybe haven't listened to in 15 plus years. So we're really grateful. So Jonathan, we have one more song that we're going to get to tonight. And this is one that you wanted to make sure we'd get to tonight because I think this is a deeper cut.
Yeah, this is about as deep as you can get. I think it's the last song on the album. And it's called Every Town's the Same. And I thought I should share my experience with this song with you guys because it's so strange. When I was getting ready to make the Public Library album and Walter was my producer, he said, send me a bunch of demos, just like voice and guitar, and we'll choose what songs to track in the studio. So I think I sent him 20 songs, and then he was the producer, so he got to choose so he chose 10 of them. But those early demos were me, just guitar and voice, playing into one microphone. And so then we got together in Madison and recorded the basic tracks for the album, 10 songs. And just as we were about to start taking the equipment down and packing up the drums and packing up the mic cables and everything, this song, Every Town's the Same, kept haunting me. And I said to Walter, I said, I'd really want to put Every Town's the Same on the record, but we didn't have the chance to track it. So I said, I said, I don't think I can play it better than the demo. And he said, well, why don't we just overdub on top of the demo?
There you go.
And so what you hear on the record is my demo of guitar, voice, and harmonica. And then Conrad from the Silos, the drummer, is playing tambourine and just hitting stuff. And then Drew, the guitarist bass player, is playing a special kind of lap steel called a Weisenborn, which is like a very beautiful acoustic. And then Walter, the producer, is singing the harmony part. And then, so we just opened up the demo and we just knocked it out in about 5 minutes before we had to pack all the gear and finish the record. And then when the album came out in 2004, I did tours in support of the record, but I think I played the song live maybe 3 times, and then it fell off the set list. And seriously, I had not heard it for 20 years until planning for this show.
Oh, cool.
And when I listened to it, I had absolutely no memory of it. I couldn't remember any of the lyrics. I couldn't remember anything about how it sounded. And then when I was listening to it to send it to you guys, it had a bridge, and I had absolutely no recall of the bridge at all. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is my song. And it is so gone from my memory that it sounds like a totally different artist playing a song that I'd never heard before.
That's wild. Yeah, I mean, I got to know, because since we're going to be listening for this idea of a demo with overdubs.
Yeah.
Was the original demo like just you in your house, or did you go to a studio to record
No,
it?
it's me in the basement in North Minneapolis playing guitar, singing, and playing harmonica into one microphone. And I think it was the songwriting demo. So what you're hearing is the first time it was ever played after I wrote it.
Wow.
That's super special, and kind of one of those nuggets that I love to hear. And one of the things that I love about this show is that, it's like, this is for us liner note nerds, this is the gold, right? Because you hear things in different ways, and I can't wait to give this one a spin. This is Jonathan Rundman, Every Town's the Same, here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Well, I used to put the car in park to see what I could see. But now those words on highway signs have lost their mystery. Yeah, I love freeway driving and my windshield picture frame. But I don't care to stop this car, 'cause every town's the same. Every town's the same, yes, every town's the same. They got different maps, they got different names, but every town's the same. Now I always watch for differences, made 1,000 searches, played guitar in smoky bars and in basements of the churches, and in cities, towns, and suburbs. I had seen it all before. Cars, lights, restaurants, parking lots, and stores. Right. Every town's the same, yes, every town's the same. They got different maps, they got different names, but every town's the same. Are you driving with a reason? Are you reasoning with drive? If the heart stops moving, then you stop being alive. Yeah, you gotta stay alive. Now when I take the Myers-Briggs, I always test receiving. So I don't like to stay too long, and I always love the leaving. Yeah, I'm living for the journey and not the destination. So the only place you see me stop is at the filling station. 'Cause every town's the same, yes, every town's the same. They got different maps, they got different names, but every town's the same, yeah. Every town's the same, yes, every town's the same. They got different maps, they got different names, but every town's the same.
All right. Jonathan Rundman, Every Town's the Same, the track that finishes off his 2004 album Public Library, which we have been revisiting today with Jonathan joining us live here on the Back Catalog Listening Party. And if you hadn't said that was like one that was like a demo with the band doing overdubs later, it sounds like it has that energy. And maybe
Yeah,
they
like
were
you're all
just
hanging out.
Yeah, it sounds like you're hanging out in your basement, but really it was you hanging out in your basement alone,
Yeah.
not thinking you would ever put that on a record, or at least not in that fashion. And then,
Yeah.
wow, it's so
You-
cool. It just goes to
it's-
show that the kind of the camaraderie that you all kind of developed, because it does have that feel. That warmth.
Yeah. Well, like Christopher in the chat says, record everything for the vault. And that's a great lesson for making a record, is like always have the machine running, because sometimes the coolest thing is is the demo, or the coolest thing's a mistake, and it turns into a real song, you know?
And it's such a great way to end the record because it has that sort of has that feel of like an outtake kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's got
it's
that
funny
new
when
song energy.
Yeah.
when
new
we were
song
listening
energy.
when we were listening, I could hear myself reading the lyric sheet because I don't know the song, you know. So because I sing like I sing the line "made 1,000 searches," and I'm like "made 1,000 searches" because I don't know like how to sing it right yet.
But
know.
you know what's great though is if you brought it back into rotation for the live shows, you'd probably also be looking at maybe a lyric or a cheat sheet. So it would probably sound a lot like the record, you know, it'd be that
Yeah.
same kind of new song
Right.
energy as Tony said. Also, I heard maybe it's just it wasn't at my house, but maybe I heard something. It sounded like a bark almost on
Oh,
that.
there's no dog in the
Could have been,
section,
could have been
but
my neighbor's dog.
Yeah, I
maybe.
don't know. But it seemed to fit the whole vibe. So
You know, one thing because I don't remember writing those lyrics, and I couldn't sing it for you now because it's not in my memory at all. But one of the lyrics that really grabbed me was I say in the whole song is about what I had experienced being a touring musician for the previous 10 years. And I say, I play guitar in smoky bars, right? That was one of the lines. And I remember when we made the record in 2003, it's when they passed the no smoking rule.
Oh, okay.
And
I
so
remember.
all the years before that, when I got my career started, and especially in Chicago, I would come home from a gig, and we lived on the fourth floor of a Chicago apartment. And my wife would say, when you get home, leave your clothes in the stairwell. And so I would take my clothes off in the steps outside the apartment.
It's like you
leave
need a
them.
hazmat, like, you know,
Yes.
like detox shower.
Yes. And then I would leave the clothes outside in the stairwell overnight. And then I would come in and shower once I got home. And then when I went to New York to make the record, every night after we would record, Walter would take me in the East Village to different clubs. And the smoking ban had just passed, and everyone in New York was freaked out because they wanted to smoke at the show. So the sidewalks were filled with people by the hundreds, all smoking outside for the very first time.
Oh my gosh. Loudon Wainwright III has a great song that was written around that time called New Street People. And it's all about the smokers who were banned to the sidewalks
Yes.
to smoke. And,
I'm so glad they banned it. I'm just
Oh,
so glad.
As a singer, I hear you.
It was terrible.
it is
back
hard
in
to
the day.
remember that time because it was, I mean, I have this memory too, even, you know, being a teenager going to just concerts and like you just come back, you know, drenched in smoke. But I love this song because it has that sort of time capsule feel to it that's just so fantastic. And what a great way to end today's show with that song. And this has been such a fun hour. Jonathan Rundman joining us here on the Back Catalog Listening Party, revisiting his 2004 album, Public Library. Buy it. There's only a couple copies left. So go to jonathanrundman.com, go to Bandcamp, give a little extra, maybe buy the new record, Waves, which is out this week. And Connie says, what a great show. Going to look up more of his music. That's right. Follow Connie's lead. Go down the Jonathan Rundman rabbit hole. And,
Thanks, Connie.
Find all the songs. Check them out on tour now with the Silos. JonathanRundman.com is where to do that. This has been such a treat. Thank you so much for joining us.
This was awesome. You guys are so good at this. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
Well, we're only as good as the guest music. And luckily for us, a lot of great guests say yes.
You have amazing guests. Like the people who come on this show are incredible.
Well, thank you for adding to that list. This has been a great hour. And again, we do this every week. So join us for another edition of Back Catalog Listening Party next week. Jonathan Rundman won't be joining us, but another great guest will be joining us. So make sure to do that. And again, you can follow us on all the social places, Back Catalog Listening Party. But mainly, thank you for being here, all of you. Those of you joining the live chat, those of you tuned into the podcast. It's not the same without you here. So thank you for joining the party.
Yeah. Thanks to everybody for being here. Keep listening and attending live concerts and supporting independent musicians like Jonathan. We'll see you next week. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on the Back Catalog Listening Party. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to the podcast and leave a review, which helps more people discover our show and our guests.
And do you want to be a part of the live show, get a first look at upcoming guests, and receive invites to private online parties and live streams? Then join our Patreon community at backcataloglisteningparty.com.
Have a great week. We'll see you back here next Friday for another edition of the Back Catalog Listening Party.